Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Drive Time, brought to you by Auto Driveaway. Reggie Graham is my guest today. Reggie is one of our awesome Auto Driveaway drivers. Reggie, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin.
So tell me, Reggie, I think you just have such an interesting role or interesting job, and I'm excited to learn a little bit more about what that looks like as somebody who's in an office all day. I'm a little bit jealous that you get to be out there. So let's start with, how long have you been driving with Auto Driveway? How did you first get into being a driver? How did that all come to be?
Okay. Well, just like you said, I used to work in the office too. I worked in corporate for a while, and after I did that, I decided to start working at a school. I was a school bus driver, and I was working with some kids on the northeast side of Indianapolis, Hamilton Southeastern School District, and driving a school bus, like I said, working with kids. And one day, somebody talked to me about delivering recreational vehicles in buses and stuff like that. And I thought it was pretty interesting, to be able to work and get paid and deliver buses, and to, if I wanted to take an extra day off at a place I've never been or something like that. So I thought all of that was pretty good. So I decided to take a look at it. I started with another company before Auto Driveaway for a year. Then I was able to meet one of the older founders of Auto Driveaway, Wayne Moss of Indianapolis, and he hired me in back in 2008.
So 2008, wow. So you have been here a while. So I'm imagining, going from your days driving a school bus a little bit quieter now. I'm imagining when you're driving without 40 kids yelling behind you, right?
Oh, yeah. But I had a good time driving the kids too. Now, I did other driving jobs that were part-time or working like with churches and community things. Even when I was in the Air Force for 12 years, it was the augment duty that we had to drive and pick up certain people, either in trucks or cars or buses. So I've been at it, driving for a long time, but it wasn't my primary job for a long time.
Okay.
Around, when was it? Until about 2000, about 2004, something like that. That's when it became primary.
Okay, well, let's go into that. I'd love to hear a little bit more. So how long were you in the Air Force for?
Oh, I was in the Air Force for 12 years.
Wow.
I was in there 12 years. I started off as just what they call a pencil pusher administration. And then I got promoted into a very good job of, it's called combat plans. I was the non-commissioned officer in charge of combat plans and exercises. So it was like an intel job that I had. And so we excelled. The team excelled very good in it, and we did pretty good in the Air Force. I had a good Air Force career.
Outstanding. Well, thank you for your service to this country. Where were you stationed?
I was stationed at Dyess Air Force Base in Texas. I was stationed at Mildenhall Air Base in England, in the UK. Keesler Air Force Base down in Mississippi, near Biloxi. And other places, what we call temporary duty places. I was also stationed in Indianapolis, a joint duty special assignment in Indianapolis, working with the military entrance program, helping to get people, signing them into the military.
Right. Okay. Wow. Well, that's interesting. So we've already had some really interesting tidbits about you. So how many miles do you think you drive per year?
Per year, I would say at my peak, I was doing up to about 120,000. And that was, kind of constant. If you take in and say, if you just average it about 500 miles per day. So if you're doing a trip out to the West Coast from the Midwest, it's anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 miles. That's going to take you about 4 or 5 days to do that. And you don't always have a what they call a deadhead return job. So sometimes you have to get on the plane or the train or the bus and get back, and stuff to get another one. So that I consider that, a lot of miles when I was pushing it to get that in about 120 at the most, at the max.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of miles. So what do you enjoy most about that? What do you enjoy about life being on the road?
Well, of course, we have a solitude job, so you're by yourself quite a bit when you're driving, at least. So you have a lot of time, to think and everything
Right.
like that. So whenever you stop, you're gonna try to be cheery, gonna be try to talk to people, and get to know them with the customers and everything like. I've built some good relationships with our customers over the years. Kept in close contact with them, even ones I don't drive for anymore. But that's a big thing. One of the things I enjoyed, Kevin, was on the return trips home. I used to fly a lot, but now I would take Amtrak because
Mhm.
it's more sociable.
Sure.
And so, you have these big community, what they call observation cars, and you go in there, you sit with people long for hours, you talk to them, get to know about them, tell them about your job, where you've been to. So that's been probably some of the best, meeting people, the best part of the job for me.
Yeah, I was going to say so we'll get into maybe some of the places you've been and visited. But how do you so you mentioned, it's a lot of solitude while you're driving. Are you a music guy? Are you a podcast or a books on tape or whatever they are now? Like how do you pass that time?
Yeah, and generally, what you said is either music or podcast for me. So I'm listening to those for a few hours, and then I have my quiet time.
Sure.
Stuff I'm thinking. Think about my family, and I'm praying, and just all kinds of things on the road. Whatever stuff just comes to your mind and stuff like that. So you have a lot of time to go over that. And
Right.
think about life.
It's probably where all the good ideas come from, right? When you have that
That's right.
no
When you're just out there,
no
doing them out.
yeah, no
That,
distractions, I was going to say.
that's right.
So
That's
what
right.
parts of the country do you enjoy going to the most or where have you been that you've really enjoyed? Are there certain parts of the country or certain areas that you like the most?
Yes. Well, I've been all over, even before joining the Driveaway business. You know, to the south, southwest, the northeast, and Midwest. I was there all the time, but the Pacific Northwest, I wasn't there until I started driving. So Seattle, I really liked Seattle. Portland has kind of changed right now, but Seattle, I really enjoyed the Pacific Northwest. It's kind of laid back. It
Right.
was something new for me. I, I started to say Canada, but in the Pacific Northwest, I had never been to Vancouver before until I delivered up to Vancouver as well. Calgary, Edmonton, those are some places that I had never been. So I kind of like that area. It's still, large enough, but it's a little bit more quieter than the back in the Midwest and the East Coast, type.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any interesting stories or people you run into or a lot of times I talk to our drivers and there's always some sort of wildlife story that they have about a moose in the road or what can you share with us?
Yeah, I've seen my fair share of moose. Like again, that's back in the Pacific Northwest area, but I've seen my fair share of them. I'm trying to see what other type of animals. I mean, besides animals, we've had a lot of fun. Again, part of that has to do with my return travels.
Right.
I remember one time that I got on the Amtrak and was coming back, and I kind of got the whole observation car to participate in a singing. I had a friend I met named Ted, and we got the whole car. I'm talking about maybe 68 people who never known each other before then. We got them participating in singing and playing instruments, and and later on playing cards and stuff on the train. So I enjoy stuff like that and doing things like that. I met some entertainers. I met a lady who wrote songs for Beyonce.
Wow.
I met a little young girl came sit over next to me and found out she was on some Disney programs, and she was
Wow.
showing me her videos. I met a guy that was on The Sopranos, and then I met a young lady that was on Orange is the New Black. So I meet people, and part of that is because I talk. As you can
Right.
probably tell, I talk a lot. So I was just able to meet a lot of people, and like I said, I've been keeping in contact ever since. So,
Yeah. No, I can
so
tell how outgoing you are. We may need to get you your own podcast. Reggie on the road or something,
yeah,
and get
yeah,
you
that would be
interviewing people you meet. I think that would be outstanding.
yeah. I've been told to do that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any parts of the country that you haven't been to, that's kind of on your bucket list that you'd like to get to go see?
Let's see. Well, I really have been to all 48 states. Um, I used to think about, say, if they had a special trips going up to Alaska. I don't drive as much anymore, but I've been to all the lower continental U.S. states. I've been across, Canada, from one end of Canada to the other. So I've done that. And we'll just see where it goes from here.
Sure.
I can't really think of any place right now that I haven't been, but the places where I've been before, I like to go to, and that's again back to the Pacific Northwest. Salt Lake City was a lot of fun. Every time I was in Denver, I really like Denver, Colorado. Uh, that's a good place.
Is it
I,
is it is it um is it as difficult as I would think it would be to be driving through the mountains, or do you kind of get used to that?
I remember my first trip out west, and I was driving an RV. I had never driven up in the mountains, and I was coming down the road, and I said, "Oh, I really have to, watch." I wasn't going fast anyway, but it was just the fact of the elevation coming down, and it was snow, and all over the place because it was the mountains,
Sure.
and so you learn that over a period of time just to make sure. It's always safety first. That even as the company stresses, that's the big thing. But yeah, I've been up in the snow where they've closed down the roads, closed down the highways, and have to wait till the next day or two
Right.
days later before you can start traveling. But it's fun too because again you're meeting people. But yeah, I've done that. I've driven a truck that was almost 60 tons. It was a T-Rex crane. We had to have special permits and everything like that. I drove that about 1,900 miles
Holy cow.
to the West Coast. So, yeah.
Wow. So you've seen and done it all.
Everything.
What do you do, Reggie, when you're not behind the wheel? What do you like to do for fun?
And, well, family. Family is the number one thing. I have some great grandkids in Ohio. So I love to see my grandkids.
Nice.
Um, Sports. I'm watching sports quite a bit. I like church activities like that. I have siblings in Detroit where I reside at, and just that's a big thing too. Is I can see friends and family whenever across the country in different states.
Right.
If I'm driving out to California, my son lives out there, so I can go out there, and I have cousins that live out there too as well, so I can stop and see them. In Ohio, Cincinnati, down in Florida, just all over, friends and family. That's a big part of the job that really you're already going out there.
Right.
So when you deliver, you can stay an extra day or two, stay with them, and you can visit, or just if you're just sightseeing. So that's really good. But just to get back to what I do is mostly with family, just
Nice.
spending time with family.
Nice. So
Yeah.
who's you said you're into sports, Detroit teams, Tigers, Lions, or are there other teams you like?
Well, Detroit Lions number two for that, but I don't know if you can
I see
see
your
this
Rams
jersey.
jersey. Yeah, you're a little conflicted there.
Yeah, the Rams first, Lions second. I've always been a Los Angeles Rams fan, and so they don't mind that too much here in Michigan. But when I wear the Ohio State Buckeyes jersey, I get a lot of
Yeah,
flack here.
you better be careful. You better be
Yeah.
careful.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want
Yeah.
anybody to take a swing at you for wearing
I know. I
the wrong
know.
jersey.
Yeah. But
Oh my
it's
goodness.
fun. Yeah. I love sports. So that's a big thing.
Well, Reggie,
Yeah.
this has been great. I've really enjoyed talking to you, learning more about not only your driving, but what you do, when you're not driving, and just it's so your personality is so infectious. I can see where people probably just wait for you to come through town because you're like the mayor. You just bring the happiness. So
That's funny.
thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you again for serving in our Air Force and serving our country, and just everything you do for Auto Driveaway. And I've really enjoyed getting to know you. And thanks for joining me today.
Likewise. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.